It was noon on fight day, and my trainer Billy and I had just arrived at the weigh-in. There were TV camera crews and reporters from the newspapers and radio interviewers there ready to cover the event. I was in New Zealand. I'd gone there to fight the New Zealand national super featherweight champion. His name was Tangaroa Harangi, and apparently he'd never been beaten. For the last 3 days we'd been looking at pictures of this guy. They were plastered on every shop front, on every bus shelter, and on every school kid's shoulder bag. He looked mean. Well, compared to me, he looked mean. You see, back then I was young and handsome. I had a full head of hair, couple of diamond stud earrings, just one tattoo on each arm, and I had a trim, fit, slender physique. I didn't really look like a boxer. I looked more like a gigolo. A swimmer. I pushed my way through the Harangi crowd, who were chanting some kind of a native folk song. Kumate, kumate, ha, ha, kumate, kumate, ha, ha. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't like it. Once inside, I looked around but couldn't see Tangaroa Harangi anywhere. I was nervous. My heart was racing. I looked at Billy, who was wiping sweat from his forehead, even though it was the middle of winter. A few minutes later, the crowd outside started to cheer and scream. Horns and whistles blared. The chant became louder. Obviously, their hero had arrived. Camera flashes went off like fireworks. I was really starting to shake. The doors parted, and in walked Tangaroa Harangi in just a pair of shorts. His Maori body was totally covered in tribal tattoos, and he had dozens of silver rings dangling from body piercings all over his body, including his eyebrows, nose and nipples. I had to look away to hide my fear. I could hear him yelling out, "Where's the skippy from down under? Where's the skippy from down under?" I turned to Billy. I said, "This guy's twice as big as me. He'll kill me." In his calm Scottish accent, Billy comforted me with, "For the first time in my life, I'm going to have to agree with you. He'll kill you." When I turned back, I noticed something I didn't see the first time. He was bald. Not that there's anything wrong with that. This was one scary looking dude, and ugly. I'd seen better heads on a beer, but I wasn't prepared to tell him that. I stripped down to my jocks as the referee called me over to the scales. I jumped on. I came in right on the way. The referee called Harangi up next. Now I was betting that this guy would come in at least a stone heavier than me. Unbelievably though, he came in right on the weight too, 9 stone 4 pounds. He then turned to the audience and he went like this. And I wasn't sure if it was to impress the 40 or so people in the room or to scare me some more. He did both. The promoter, who looked nothing like Don King, then called us over. Said we should shape up for some promotional shots. So we shape up. Now I'm 5'6.5", every inch a winner. But this guy was a good 8 inches taller than me. He was huge. He steps back, folds his arms like this, and then leaps into a Maori war dance. Went something like this. Kumate, kumate, ha, ha, kumate, kumate, ha, ha, kumate, ha, kumate, ha, kumate, ha. Now I gotta tell you, it scared the crap out of me. And I didn't really know how to respond to that. But then I remembered that back home, we also have an Aussie war dance. So I thought I'd share it with you. Went something like this. Ha! He walked over to me, leaned his head down, and he said to me, "I've been to your zoo. I like your koala bears." I stood on my tippy toes. I looked up into his ugly mug and I said, "Mate, everybody likes our koala bears." I then did the only thing I could think of that would put him off his game. I kissed him on the lips. There was yelling and laughing. Cameras went off again. Tangy stepped back, wiped his mouth on his arm, clenched his fist with my head as his target and lunged forward. I ducked and weaved out the way. Tangy went straight over the top, landed on a chair, and then ended up on the floor. I turned around and said, "And there's plenty more where that came from." I then grabbed my clothes and took off really quick. As I walked away, I could hear him yelling out, "You're dead meat, Skippy! You're dead meat!" It wasn't until I was outside that I realised I was only dressed in my jocks, and the media circus was still there. So what do? I shape up. I never miss an opportunity for a photograph. Back at the hotel, Billy says to me, "Right then, so tell me, why did you do what you did back there at the weigh-in?" And the only thing I could think of was, what did I have to lose? You see, when I decided that the worst thing that could happen was that I would lose the fight, I realised that that wasn't such a bad thing. I'd lost fights before. That night, we went to war. We stood toe-to-toe and belted the living daylights out of each other, and neither of us took a backward step. By the end of the 10th round, I had a cut above my eye that would later need 12 stitches. My ears were ringing, my head was sore, my nose was broken and bloodied. Tangy had at least one broken rib, some swollen elbows, and as I hadn't tried to kiss him again throughout the whole fight, I'd imagine he also had a broken heart. I couldn't have done any more than I did in that fight. I left everything in the ring, and I thought I'd done enough to win. Unfortunately though, the 3 New Zealand judges, 2 of whom are Maori, didn't see it the same way. But although I lost the fight, I still felt like a winner. Had I not stood up to Tangy at the weigh-in and planted one on his lips, I would have been massacred that night, I'm certain of it. But because I was able to remove the very thing that frightened me the most, my fear of losing, I was able to give the best performance of my career. Think about that now. Are you the best you can possibly be at whatever it is you do? Are you a champion? Or do you let your fears keep you locked up in an average life? Only when you can let go of your fear of losing and really start to believe in yourself will you enjoy the best that this life has to offer. Only then will you discover what you're truly capable of. Thank you.